Hello everyone, Vampire 218 here, super hyped to be bringing you my draft analysis team for the PFL Season 2. I covered some of the PFL in Season 1 and then I got quite busy. I'm thinking I am going to try and cover all of the PFL for Season 2 for my matches because it is a shorter league, because there's only 8 participants and only 8 matches, so I should be able to do it and I'm going to really try this time. So first off here, if you don't know, the PFL allows certain Ubers. So some of the Ubers that got included this season were Reshiram, Giratina, and Hoopa Unbound. Now, my first pick was Giratina, and I've got to tell you, I'm really hesitant about using this thing. As you see, it's got good stats. You know, it's got 150 in HP, 120 defense, 120 special defense. It's essentially a really bulky Cresselia, but it has a lot more weaknesses, and its abilities aren't that good. So first of all, it doesn't really have a good ability. Pressure is okay. Pressure is okay if I'm trying to outlast something. So sure, but I much prefer the levitate on the other form. But the other form people thought was too powerful. So, but another reason I'm really hesitant is that this thing, the basic set is you want to outlast and use this thing as a tank. It gets some good moves and it has okay stats, but for your Uber, you want to be really good. So, I chose a wall as my Uber and I'm not sure how it's going to play out. This thing gets really shut down by taunt and by a few other things, because mainly, you want to use this thing to either Thunder Wave or maybe Will-O-Wisp, get up maybe a Tailwind. You want to use this thing as a support. This thing, while it has the capacity to do that damage, its offensive stats and speed aren't at the point where you want this as your sweeper. So I'm really hoping this works out for me. This was kind of a leap of faith pick. It was between this and one other Mega, so I took a leap of faith, and I'm really hoping that I don't get disappointed, because this thing has a lot of checks, and I'm really scared about that. The next mon is Volcanion, and I got Volcanion a little late in the draft too. I think it's round 4, round 5 type thing. And what I really wanted with Volcanion was a special sweeper. If you look at Volcanion, it's got really good offensive stats. That 130 in special attack, but also it has 110 in attack and 120 in defense with a 90 in special defense. This thing puts in work. It gets pretty good coverage too, as it gets Flash Cannon, it gets, I believe, Earth Power, it gets your Fire move, it gets Steam Eruption, and even if you don't want to run it special, you can run it physical with Stone Edge, Superpower. I can use this to Will-O-Wisp, I get Rock Slide. This thing, it gets Earthquake too, Earthquake. This thing, it puts in work. So I really knew that I wanted to get my cores set up this time. I don't believe I had my cores set up right last time, so picking up Volcanion is really good because it fits 2 different slots, and it can fit 1 slot 1 week, a different slot next week. Because I can bring this thing Assault Vest, I can bring it Scarf, I can bring it Specs. I have a lot of versatility with this, and that's what you're going to see what I went for a lot. So up until this point, I've realized, I don't have too much speed, so I chose my Mega as Mega-Manetric. And as you look here, Mega-Manetric has a 135 in its speed, and that is, I believe, tied with Mega Lock, and it has Intimidate. So, Manetric is a very good mon. It's also got the 135 in special attack. So this thing is going to be putting in quite a bit of work on the speed front and on the special front. So I was really looking for that. It also gets that Intimidate, which is really important because it lets me nerf certain things I don't want to be dealing with. It gets pretty good, a pretty good moveset. I can use it as a pivot with Volt Switch, fast pivot. I got Signal Beam to take care of those grass types. I have hidden powers, which, they're feasible to run on something with this. Its move pool is not the greatest, but it's definitely a very good pivot. So, the next mon I chose was Superior. And what I really wanted with Superior again was I realized last season that my speed tiers were really bad. So I'm really trying to draft a better speed this time. This thing, you know, more than likely is going to be the contrary set, obviously, but, you know, having a speed at 113 with pretty decent defensive stats, you know, that's pretty good. So I really needed something to fill my grass role, and I was looking, and I already had Manetric, and you'll see from my next pick, I didn't want something that's going to be weak to ground, like a Venusaur, Mega-Venusaur, and, you know, I knew I needed a fast electric type. So I did choose Superior for that, because it doesn't have that weakness to ground. Now, going into my next pick of Cobalion, I knew that I needed something that could take a dark move. And while Cobalion does not resist it from its steel type, you know, it has the Justified, which means that if I get hit with a dark move, because Giratina again, it's going to be fine. And, you know, this thing, while it can't really take a fighting move, I have Giratina to take those. So I was really trying to synergize. This thing, again, it has a really good speed tier, so I have a pretty fast team. And that's really odd for me, because I'm the kind of person who wants to draft the powerful team, not the fast team. So I'm really having to go outside of my comfort zone for this one. Cobalion, very similar to Giratina. It's going to be more of a supporting pivot role. Like, this thing is going to probably pivot quite a bit too with it, because it gets a Volt Switch, I believe. So I do have the options of running this thing physical or special, though, and that is something that's really nice. It's a very good on the physical defense. Its special defense leaves something to the imagination, but, you know, this thing also, I believe, gets rocks, which, you know, always good. So it lets me do some stuff that I wouldn't be able to do had I not been using it. So the next Mon, I realized, you know, I already have three ground weaknesses. So I'm not sure if Volcanion, I feel like Volcanion does, but you know, I realized I needed a Pokemon with Levitate. I didn't want a flying type, so I chose Azelf. And I chose Azelf over the other three because, again, I wanted speed this time around, and I wanted power. So Azelf has 125 in attack and special attack, as well as 115 in speed. So this thing is fast, and it can be run either physical or special. Now, while its moves are, I believe, more focused on the special side, with things like Flamethrower, it doesn't get Ice Beam, so it does have the options of running either or. So I really wanted that, was versatility. The next Mon that I wanted was Galvantula. And now, it may seem weird because, again, I have a lot of ground weaknesses, but I chose Galvantula because, you know, it's fast. But as we're going to get into the rest of my draft, my speed tiers are, there's a huge gap from really fast to really slow. So I wanted a Mon that, A, could do something with be some sort of bug type. And I was trying to think, you know, I was thinking maybe Mega Heracross for a bit, but I felt Galvantula was the right pick because Galvantula, again, it's a very fast pivot. It can be a lead with those webs, and it can do quite a bit of work if done right. So that's why I chose Galvantula here. And while it does add another ground weakness, you'll see from the rest of my team that I'm not entirely covered for that per se, but that I don't have any more ground weaknesses coming up. The next Mon was Druddigon, and I chose Druddigon because I really at this point lacked physical attack. You know, I had some that could go either or, but what I really wanted was something that could be a little bit bulky, something I could throw a choice band on, something I could throw maybe you know, I wanted something that could take those physical hits. Because there's a lot of Mons out there that, you know, Entei, Victini, there's a lot of those Mons out there that I'm going to have a problem with. So I needed to bring something that I could bring defensive or physically offensive. Throw a choice band on this thing, I could throw a Rocky Helmet on this thing. I do have the options, and with Rough Skin, I'm able to shut down to a degree some of the more threatening Mons that I was afraid of. The next pick I grabbed was Slowking. Now, I chose Slowking because I really needed a special wall. As you see, my speed tiers here are abysmal after this point, so, you know, 30. I needed something that I could be running as a special wall. I also knew I wanted a Regenerator. So Regenerator is really good for the type of team I'm running because I'm doing a lot of pivot. So I'm really trying this season to be outspeeding and doing more damage, whereas in the past I've tried to out bulk, and it doesn't seem to work because when you try to outbulk, you know, you can get toxic stalled, so you got to be careful with that. So I'm bringing a very bulky Mon in Slowking. And Slowking, I'm really hoping puts in the work. It's the special variant of Slowbro, so I really needed a special Mon, so I'm really hoping this works. The next Mon is Aromatisse with the 29 speed. Very late in the draft, I actually realized I didn't have a fairy. I guess I thought I picked up something early on, but I didn't. So I picked up Aromatisse as, you know, to fill out that role again, that up until this point, I don't have very much bulk. You know, Giratina's pretty bulky, but the rest really weren't. So I got Druddigon, Slowking, Aromatisse, and you're going to see from my last pick as well, but I picked Aromatisse because it was, I think, the best fairy left that I could get. So I really needed to get some sort of fairy. So it's a pretty bulky fairy that has an okay special, like it has a good special attack, but its speed is abysmal. So, you know, getting up webs, being able to do shenanigans like that, get up a tailwind, stuff like that, it's going to be very important for these slower Mons like the past 3 you've seen. And Ditto. Now, Ditto actually was the MVP for my team for Season 1 of the PFL, so I franchised it. And I'm very comfortable using Ditto because in a league with Ubers, a lot of these Ubers can actually just take themselves out to a degree. You know, a lot of people, because I have Giratina, they're going to be bringing their Uber Dragons, and there's quite a few Uber Dragons. There's like Reshiram, I guess there's not, I can't remember their others, I think there's a couple others. But even so, you know, this really is my answer for some of those Mons. You know, this thing, sure, I have to sack something, but you know, what this thing comes in on is huge. You know, if they want to set up, okay, I will lose 1 Mon, I'll bring out my Ditto. If I'm Choice Scarf, I'll outspeed, and I should be able to kill anything. And that is really how I use Ditto, you know. If it's coming in on a Mega Lopunny, as long as the Lopunny's running a fighting move, you know, usually you can pull off the kill. So, you gotta be very careful how you use Ditto, but I'm very comfortable with it. And the last Mon was Golurk. Now, I needed a ground type. I needed another physical attacker. I needed something that was semi-bulky. So I chose the Golurk because, A, you know, it's got some good abilities. So, you know, Iron Fist, pretty good ability. If I choose to run the punches, which I believe I get, what, Power Up Punch, Thunder Punch, and I think, do I get Fire Punch? Yeah, Fire Punch. So, and Ice Punch even. So I could run this thing as a puncher, I could run this thing as a spin blocker, because I'm not sure if I want to bring Giratina every week, right? You know, if I see that I'm going up against a fairy heavy team, or a dragon heavy team, I might elect to use Golurk as a spin blocker. So, more than that though, Golurk has the ability to set up rocks, which is always good. Shadow Punch, another punching move, which is, you know, pretty good. It's got good bulk, and it's a physical attacker. So overall, that's the squad. I'm really hoping that I perform better this season around. You know, last season I think I was 3 and 5. This season I'm hoping to, I got like 7th place as well. But you know, this season I'm really hoping to get at least 4th place. I want to make it into the playoffs this season. I'm not going for first, but I am going to try and get, you know, improve my record quite a bit. So I've been Vampire218. I hope you enjoy the video, and if you want to see more, or if you're hyped to see the PFL, you know, make sure you leave a like, share, comment, favorite, and subscribe, and I will be bringing these matches as they happen. Bye!